Roxo Media House.
Oh, the early applause. Welcome back to FORTitude, Brenton. The Cliburn Series we're doing right now. The young man to my left, Jonathan Mack. He's a 25-year-old Canadian. He is in town for the Van Cliburn Piano Competition. Welcome to the show, Jonathan.
Thank you for
Thanks
having
for
me.
being here, Jonathan. And Captex Bank sponsored.
Captex Bank is your sponsor, which you probably never heard of. But when you move to Fort Worth one day, maybe you'll get to know them a little.
It's
they're
not
good
all
dudes.
Bitcoin around here yet.
That's right. That's right.
Contrary to
So,
what
Jonathan, we know some stuff about you, but basically, we would like to talk about your story in about 15 minutes. But you began playing piano at age 3. Is that
Right.
correct?
Mm-hmm.
How in the world does a 3-year-old start playing piano?
Well, the story is I have an older sister. She's around 6 years older. And so my mom always brought me to her piano lessons. And so on my 3rd birthday, our piano teacher was like, for your birthday present, let's give you a trial lesson, see if you've got what it takes. And so that's how I started at the age of 3. And my teacher sort of took me under her wing ever since.
When did you know you were decent or gifted at the piano? When did that come to you?
Well, I think because ever since I was born, I was always heard music from my sister playing and practicing. So I was always surrounded by classical music. And we sort of, my parents are both not musicians, but they made sure to, give us a good musical education and make sure that, I learned piano and I also did violin. So we sort of dabbled in different areas as well.
What were your parents' profession?
My dad works as a nurse for the elderly.
Okay.
Yeah, and my mom does self-employment floral arrangements.
Oh, yeah. Excellent. So
nice.
kind of creative. Well, at least on your mom's side, creative. But
yeah. She's definitely more the visual artist.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Where in Canada do you hail from?
I come from Toronto.
Toronto.
Born
Very
and
good.
raised.
Where do you live currently?
I am currently in between places. I just graduated from Yale, so I was in New Haven for the
Congratulations.
past 3 years. And I'm moving to Houston in the fall, actually.
Oh, beautiful Houston.
So you like the humidity?
Well, I like the school.
Yes, for sure. For sure.
It says here you made your orchestral debut at the age of 4. Can you
Right.
please tell us how that works?
Yes, so my piano teacher's husband teaches violin and viola, and he's also conductor of a local orchestra up in Canada. So at the age of 4, I debuted Mozart Concerto with them, and it was quite an experience because the only thing that I can remember from that is that because I was really short, I had to use one of those like pedal extenders in order to reach the pedals. And my family always told me the one thing they remember is I would always be checking out my reflection in the shiny piano. And they were always worried that I would never come in at the right time because I was too distracted. But then somehow I always managed to jump back in.
What are they, just boxes they put on the pedals or the extenders?
It
or
was
the
like
actual
this,
pedals?
It was like an actual pedal extender.
Yeah.
So like there were 2 pedals that sort of this. It was quite heavy actually.
Yeah.
My mom had to carry it around all the time.
Yeah.
But
Sounds
it
like
was-
hard.
When I was 4, I was learning how to walk still. You're performing in an orchestral debut. That's amazing. So.
Yeah. So what is it so different than that and kind of the collaboration? What is it about? Is there something about competition that you like? Is it competing with the other people, or is it competing with yourself and actually just like coming through with that performance that you've practiced so much and so hard for? What is it with you that kind of drives you to continue down this path?
So I'm quite new with all this competition stuff. But my goal is coming here is I always like to say that these competitions, we're competing against ourselves. We're just trying to become a better artist, and we're not competing against other people. In fact, we're coming here to be inspired by the other competitors and seeing what they can bring to the table and what you can learn from them. And so I think just by being here and listening to a lot of my friends play the rounds, it's like you learn so much because some of these our peers, they've been doing this for quite a while and they're quite experienced. And so it's like, for me being a new person, I want to learn from them and hear their experiences and just anything that I can use to grow and become a better artist.
And then do you sometimes take that? Like you hear them play a certain way and you go, oh, I see what they did there. I'm going to try to incorporate that a little bit in my playing
sort
as
of
well.
like, hearing different perspectives, creative interpretations, and, you take what you like and sort of build your own identity with it too.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
because everyone has their own personality in their playing, and so it's like it's never good. Even if people play the same piece 5 times, it's going to be different all those 5 times. And so you take what you learn, and because sometimes you have your own way of thinking of a piece, your own interpretation, so you might be biased towards how you play it, and then you hear someone play it a different interpretation. You're like, oh, I never thought of it that way, and it's interesting because it's like you get a third perspective.
Yeah.
Before we talk about the Cliburn, you studied under a gentleman named Boris Sletsky. Can you tell us about this guy? Because he's a known professor in this world at Yale. What is Professor Sletsky like?
Professor Sletsky he's a wonderful teacher. He's very caring and dedicated to his students. I actually auditioned for him for my undergrad at Peabody when he was teaching at Peabody, and I chose to go to Cleveland instead. But then 4 years later, I ended up in his studio at Yale. And so it was sort of nice to come full circle and get to work with him.
That's nice.
Yeah, and he's very honest in his teaching, and I like that he's very practical too. He always finds a solution very quickly, and he's very quick with his words and thinking.
Yeah. So there's this recurring theme of like Cleveland, Yale. Is there kind of a circuit for you guys, like or just kind of these meccas of locations? The Cliburn, obviously, like that's part of the tour that you hope to do. Is it kind of broken out that way, or it just kind of randomly that these are coincidental that these places exist?
Well, I think with Cleveland and Yale also, both of these house great music schools. In Cleveland, I did my undergrad at CIM. That's where I met Arseny. And right close to the school is the Cliburn Orchestra, and we were able to have free tickets to every concert. So part of the experience of going to school there is that you get to hear from one of the world's greatest orchestras for free, and you can go every week.
Yeah.
So that's sort of how I grew as an artist too. I was able to go hear so much different repertoire from the orchestra. And then Yale itself is wonderful because the School of Music is a graduate only department, and so it's a very small group of students, but it's a fully funded, full tuition, and so everyone who's there is a little bit older. They've gone through the undergrad phase, and so I think it's a very welcoming and healthy environment. Because it's such a small group. You become very close with all of your peers. And the facilities there is amazing, and also just the architecture of Yale campus itself. I think
you're very well spoken, by the way. This is incredible to hear from a young guy. I mean, you speak to it so well. When he mentioned Houston, Brenton, he failed to mention he's getting his doctorate degree from Rice University. So all these guys
in music.
Yes, in music.
Okay. And any kind of emphasis there, or is it just
piano focused?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's won several competitions throughout his young life, but he's obviously made it here to the Cliburn. Explain the Cliburn, what it meant to you, and what your experience was with the Cliburn, if you don't mind.
So growing up as a young pianist, you always hear about the Cliburn, and I've always tuned in to the previous competitions, and to be part of the experience this time, I think it's just wonderful. As even aside from the playing portion, the Cliburn has so much to offer as an experience. Like yesterday, we had competitor workshops. We got to talk with heads from other competitions, some artist managers, music presenters, and I think their emphasis is to try to offer us such a wide experience to not only be better at your own craft, but to how to break into the music industry, and how to expand yourself as a musician and sort of start your career. And what I really like about the Cliburn is that they focus a lot on musical education and trying to make it very audience accessible. And so they have all of these outreach concerts. They always invite people back to play for the local community. I came a little bit early to Fort Worth before the competition started, and I played on one of the first Adopt a Competitor concerts out. We had it outside in front of the library, and I think it was just a great way to connect with the audience.
That's awesome.
Has the living with the families and kind of the cultural experience been really good for you as well?
Yes, I think that's one of the best parts about this competition, actually. My teacher did the Cliburn back in 1989, and he said the best thing that happened to him was getting in touch with his host family. And he says till this day, he still is in contact with his host family. So
do you like I heard your host family made you sleep in the garage. Is that correct?
No.
Only when he doesn't win competitions.
Okay. Who are your hosts for the competition?
Jeffrey Sider and Kenneth Jones.
Nice guys, indeed. Mm-hmm. Yes, very good. They didn't know garage living, so that.
No, I have a wonderful living situation.
Okay, I'll change the Facebook.
But there's
post.
like a host family where you live, but then kind of like a party family, right? That takes you out and about, like that.
Yeah, we have social hosts too.
Yeah, has that been good too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where have you visited, and what have you had some good food while you're here?
Yes, lots of Tex-Mex and barbecue.
Okay.
And then last weekend we actually went down to the stockyards. We went to go see the rodeo.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, nice.
Did you like that?
It was quite an experience, actually.
I would say so. Yeah. Yes.
Canada's got some cowboys though too, little cowboy.
Yeah,
culture.
more so in the West.
Yeah.
Any other languages you speak? French?
I grew up learning a little bit Canadian French, but I've sort of dropped that for German.
Okay.
And
speak German.
Yeah,
Very
and
good.
I speak a little bit Cantonese because my family's from Hong Kong.
Very nice.
So I shook your hand when you came up. I would notice. I didn't even think about it. Like, do you ever get fearful of shaking people's hand, or like just your hands are everything, right? I mean, that's the probably most taken care of thing in this.
You're not boxing in the
do you ever
part-time, are you?
No.
Did you ever get worried about hand care of any kind, or getting in situations where you could damage your hands?
Yeah, I mean, it's very easy to sustain an injury, even just not from piano, but like, maybe you close the door on your hand or fingers.
Yeah.
I used to play basketball when I was a kid, and I've probably sprained about 8 out of the 10 fingers I have.
Yeah.
So my parents they're like, you're never playing basketball again.
Yeah.
We're actually, he's moving this weekend. Do you mind lending a hand?
Yeah. I only have about 4 or 5 really sticky doors that you could get your fingers. No, we're kidding.
Jonathan, you're an avid chamber musician. We didn't talk about that much. Why chamber music? Why does that interest you the way it does?
Sometimes solo piano can be a little lonely on stage, and I really feed off the energy of other people too. So I enjoy playing chamber music because 1, you're making music with friends, and 2, something about the energy on stage when you're performing with others, it's just such a collaborative and warming feeling.
Yeah.
To be able to share and play music with other people who are also really good. And I'm actually doing a chamber festival next month, going back to my home in Toronto.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Nice. So you have a bright future ahead of you, there's no doubt. You've made friends while you're here. You made host friends. You made friends with other competitors. I see you guys at the several events. Several of them are here in the studio, but you've made some lasting friendships, I believe, which in the world you're in will sustain you for a long time, I hope. Do you feel that way about this experience?
Yes. I think being musicians, connecting with more musicians and just expanding your network is very important.
Yeah.
And you'll see a lot of these competitors again in other competitions or concerts because music is such a small world.
Right.
And it's always just so humbling to meet other competitors who can play music so well, and you just hope to learn from everyone.
I imagine being from Toronto, you're used to this oppressive Texas heat. It's just the best, isn't it? I imagine you're loving it.
I'm getting used to it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well, don't just try as you will. You never will. I promise. It'll give you enough just to about kill you. Then when you're had enough, it'll back off a little bit. So we've enjoyed visiting with you. Thank you for being here for Cliburn. We hope you come back to Fort Worth someday soon.
You won't be too far down in Houston.
Not
just
too far.
A few hours. Yeah.
Do you want to ask him his best day ever? We didn't.
We forgot that.
Do you have a best day of your whole life, Jonathan? Besides, you don't have any kids or wife yet, I don't think.
No.
Is there a best day of your whole life?
It's hard to choose from. I'd say you hope to live every day as your best day, and hopefully the best day has not come yet. So I'm always looking.
No
for
one's
it.
answered that way. That's a great answer.
That is a good answer.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank you,
Jonathan. Thank you, Captex Bank. Jonathan Mack. How do we find you on social media, real quick?
On Facebook and Instagram.
Beautiful. Jonathan Mack, M-A-K. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Jonathan.